Shalom, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is Employment has declined every month since the tariffs were imposed. Right, and I was watching this video from this lady here, House of L. She's a financial analyst. She's gonna explain that to you, but she just was going over how America is basically circling the drain, right? And everything is going bad for America and nothing is going good. And I would have, in the work, and I was thinking about Isaiah 19, right? The cruel Lord that the Most High, Yahweh, Bashin Awashai, will put in place and will confound his counsel and cause no work to be left in Egypt. Pretty much, just ruling as a cruel, unwise king. And what follows after that, which is destruction. Nothing good can come out of an unwise king. All right. So what she talks about here is why U.S. manufacturing employment has declined every month since the tariffs were imposed. And I titled the video, "Employment has declined every month since the tariffs were imposed." Ultimately, you have AI taking over a lot of jobs. Right. People are not able to get jobs, and also the manufacturing, the factories, and these different people, right, are leaving because the cost is high, wherever the case may be. So we see that happening in America with these different companies and corporations leaving, right? People making different deals with, that don't involve America, right? Different trade deals and things like that. So why U.S. manufacturing employment has declined every month since the tariffs were imposed, how 72,000 lost factory jobs is supposedly fundamental misunderstanding of modern supply chains. Right now, this was all put in place by the current administration, right? That of Nero 47 and his JWO lobbyists, right? The Zionist lobbyists, right? Who's actually, controlling the things. It says why tariffs function as a tax on American businesses, not foreign producers, because that was a lie. And these devils told you that they're gonna put tariffs on people and that they were gonna pay it, but really the American people paid, that tax or the tariff because it's just a tax. And it's by increase of price for things. It says how a globalized manufacturing makes tariffs structurally self-defeating, right? By saying buy American, but the tariffs are causing people to shift away, right? It's doing the opposite of what we thought it would do. It says what corporate executives are quietly signaling about layoffs and shrinking margins, and that goes into more, layoffs, less work, while international investors are reassessing U.S. assets from treasuries to factories. This policy failure feeds a slow-moving but serious confidence crisis. Right now, all this goes into Isaiah 19, right? And the point I wanted was in verse 15, right? But I'm gonna grab it from to get it from the top a little bit to get the cruel Lord, because it said this is what the Most High Yahweh Bashar wanted, right? He said he wished the world, he's coming to set fire to the world, and he wished it were already burning. All right, so it is burning. Things are happening, right? Isaiah 19:1 says, "The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahweh Bashar Rashai rideth upon a swift cloud, which is a chariot, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it." And ultimately, we understand this as America, right? Egypt, it says, "And I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian." This is American against American, right? That's what you've seen now happening, right? With the ICE agents. And that's going into Second Ezra 15 and 16, right? Sedition and the cities being troubled. It says, "And they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." And what she's going to go on to explain is that, basically, the before the tariffs hit, these different corporations and companies, they had bought the products at a lower price before the tariffs took effect. So now that supply that they had is about to hit the point where it goes into now you're paying the tariffs, and that's going to lead to like inflation, hyperinflation, and things like that. That she's going to say. It says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fill in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards." Now, this is what they're doing on the left hand side. A big part of that is the AI. We know they're tapping into the left hand side of Yahweh Bashar Shai with these, you know, you know, basically demons, familiar spirits, wizards, and whatnot, warlocks, and all these different things on how to proceed moving forward. And as you can see, it ain't doing them so good. It says, "And the Egyptian will I give over, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashar Shai, the Lord of hosts." Right, and that is Donald Trump, right? Nero 47. No president has done what this guy has accomplished in a short amount of time that he's been in power. Right? It's I believe it's all right, so it's February, but so much happened in January. All right, and we're just moving over to February, and so far things are still popping up. Right? We do have America still surrounding Iran, pussyfooting with that for some reason. All right, so things about to kick off. So they have this cruel Lord ruling. It says, "And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up." All right, so it's just it's talking about the destruction that's going to come. You know, I want to jump down to 14. Isaiah 19 and 14, it says, "The Lord Yahweh Bashar Shai hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst of midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof." So everything that the current administration is doing is not going to end well for them. They're going to end in their destruction. All right, whatever they do is not going to it's not going to pan out. How just why the scriptures say there is no healing. Now grab that. Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, right? Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Yeah, and she, House of El, she goes into it a little bit too, explaining how these nations are slowly creeping away. And she goes into it a lot with her other videos too, you know. But they're slowly creeping away from America because it's failing them, right? This system that America has set up through her policies is failing the whole entire world. It says therefore nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. It said we will have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies, right? And a lot of we, as the elect of Yahweh Bashar Shai, we know that for us to escape, we have to go into the secret place of the Most High, right? And that is this word. But for these other people, that don't have the word, a lot of people are leaving America. People don't want to travel here for vacation no more, right? People are leaving. I remember Ellen, Ellen, that lady, the talk show host lady, she been left before Donald Trump took office. I forget about her. A lot of people left, beforehand. And they were saying, maybe some things are gonna come out. Maybe she's in the Epstein list. Who knows? But we'll see. It says, so yeah, there's no healing of Babylon. All right. So we would have killed her. Isaiah 19 and 14, the Lord Yahweh Bashar shall have mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggered in his vomit. So you ever seen somebody who's drunken, too drunk, throwing up, walking over to throw up, rolling in it? So that's what's happening right now. It says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head, tail, branch, or rush may do. And this is the point I wanted. No work. It's all leaving. All the work is leaving. AI is taking over it, and everything else that's not AI is getting up out of here. says, ain't no T, there's nothing Egypt can do. All are helpless, the head and the tail, the noble palm branch and the lowly reed. It says AMP, there will be no work for Egypt, which head or tail, high palm branch or low bulrush may do. So there's nothing that can be done, ultimately. And there's no work here. All right, everything is felony. All right. I'm thinking of something real quick. Let me check this out real quick. Ecclesiastes 12. Yeah, I'll grab it. Ecclesiastes 12 and 1. It says, remember now thy period and in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall uh, bow themselves, and the grinding cease because they are free. And those that look out the windows be dark. So the grinding is going to cease, right? And the door shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the doors of music shall be brought low. Right. Ultimately, the grinding is ceasing, no work. Right. Thinking about another scripture too, when it says the storehouses shall be suddenly found empty. Right, because that's a heavy point actually, because that's what she also wanted to. And I'm about to play that video next. I don't know exactly where it's at. I know it's in the prophet pit. Let me see. All right, let me look this one up real quick. All right, second Ezra 6. Let me make sure. Right, so this is going to the signs and tokens, of the end. So to the point, it says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Right. So these storehouses, that she's about to go into are going to be found empty. One, because the price is going to be too high, for the tariffs, you know, and then ultimately, once the cities are troubled and things like that, whatever is in there, the people are going to ransack it, different things, can make these storehouses empty. Some storehouses are refrigerated, and they could expire, the food can expire, so a lot of different things. So let's go ahead and get this video. We'll play some of it.
Back in April 2025, President Trump stood before cameras and made an explicit promise about his tariff policy. He said jobs and factories would come roaring back to America. He imposed the highest tariffs the United States has seen since the Great Depression. Tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods that make foreign products more expensive, theoretically making USA-made products more competitive. 9 months later, the results are in. According to data published by the Washington Post, manufacturing
and I didn't show you, the information down here, whatever the case may be. It says world rejects Trump's tariffs, 72,000 U.S. jobs flee to Canada, EU, and China, House of L. All right.
Employment has declined every single month since April, not stagnated, not grown slowly, declined every single month. Yahoo Finance reports that 72,000 manufacturing positions have been lost since the tariff announcement, including 8,000 jobs in December alone. The policy achieved the exact opposite of its stated goal, and this matters far beyond American workers losing jobs because international investors are watching this policy failure and drawing conclusions about USA competence. Japan has begun reducing its holdings of US Treasury securities. European pension funds are diversifying away from dollar-denominated assets. Volkswagen canceled plans for a US factory. The confidence crisis is already underway. I'm Elle of House of L on YouTube. I have a PhD in computer science and I work in finance where spotting geopolitical patterns is part of the job. Before we get into all of this, a quick thank you to all our channel members for supporting this work. If you'd like to support the channel as well, you could become a member on YouTube by clicking the join button or head over to Ko-fi as well. Links in the description. But now let me explain what tariffs actually do very quickly because the mechanism really matters. When the US government imposes a 25% tariff on imported steel, that doesn't mean foreign steel producers pay 25% more. It means American companies that buy that steel pay 25% more. The tariff is a tax collected at the US border, paid by the USA importer. In theory, this makes domestic steel more price competitive. If foreign steel costs 25% more due to tariffs, American buyers should just switch to domestic producers, right? That's supposed to increase demand for American steel, which should lead to expanded production, which should create manufacturing jobs. That's the theory that Trump was selling. Here's what actually happened. According to the Tax Foundation's analysis published just a few days ago, the average US tariff rate rose to 14%, the highest level since 1946. These tariffs increase costs across the entire manufacturing supply chain in the US. American factories don't just buy finished products from abroad, they buy components, raw materials, machinery. When all of those inputs became 25 or 50% more expensive due to these tariffs, American manufacturers face a choice essentially: absorb the higher costs and accept lower profits, or pass costs to customer through price increases. Most chose to absorb costs initially. CNBC reported in January 2026 that businesses absorbed roughly 80% of tariff costs in 2025, but that is not sustainable. Companies operate on margins, the difference between what it costs to make something and what they can sell it for. When input costs rise 25% and you can't raise prices equivalently because customers just won't pay, your margin just collapses. Eventually, you cut costs. The biggest cost for most manufacturers is labor. So instead of hiring more USA workers to meet increased demands for American-made goods, which was the promised outcome, manufacturers began cutting headcount to maintain profitability in the face of higher input costs. When you work in finance, you really learn to read between the lines of corporate communications as well. The Institute for Supply Management's manufacturing survey from November 2025 included anonymous comments from executives as well. One transportation equipment executive wrote, and I'm quoting here, "You're starting to institute more permanent changes due to the tariff environment. This includes reduction of staff." Another from the petroleum industry reported, "Going into 2026, we expect to see big changes with cash flow and employee headcount." That's corporate speak for layoffs. The
All right, so I'm gonna jump forward to the point up here where she's talking about basically, the resources they have bought or whatever the case may be, it's not running out, and for them to buy more, it's gonna come with a heavy tariff basically.
lower profitability. Small businesses, unfortunately, are getting destroyed first. CNBC interviewed small business owners in October 2025 who described the situation very bluntly. They lack the scale to absorb costs the way large corporations can. They lack the leverage to negotiate price increases with customers. Ken Smetters, a professor at Wharton, called small businesses the canary in the coal mine. They're going to get hit first, and then you're going to see more of an impact with some delay on larger businesses. That delay is ending now. A large retailer stockpile inventory before tariff took effect, buying up extra product when it was still cheaper. That buffer is slowly running out in early 2026. And when their stockpiles deplete entirely and they must reorder at post-tariff prices, the cost increases will flow through to consumers immediately. The prediction here is very straightforward. Inflation accelerates in the first half of 2026. as the delayed tariff impacts hit, and manufacturing job losses continue because the fundamental problem, higher input costs without corresponding demand increases, remains unresolved. If you're recognizing that official narratives often diverge from economic reality, that's exactly the kind of critical thinking I teach in my book Awake, the practice of critical thinking in an age of self-lies. It's available in ebook and audiobook. Subscribers get 10% off, and you can get the first chapter for free through the links in the description. Because understand.
All right, so she said basically what I said she would say. I was looking over here. It says U.S. traders struggle to find buyers for Venezuela oil, which is interesting. That thing's working out for these devils. This is Mayhem 3 and other from 14. The point I wanted was 6:16. Mayhem 3 and 14. It said, "Draw the waters for the siege, fortify thy strongholds, go into clay and tread the mortar, make strong the brickland. There shall the fire devour thee, the sword shall cut thee off, it shall eat thee up like the cankerworm. Make thyself many as the cankerworm, make thyself many as the locust." Going into the draft, basically, getting more troops to themselves. You already see they're hiring the ICE agents to try to fix the problem here at home. For them, says Nahum 3 and 16, thou hast multiplied thy merchant above the stars of heaven, the cankerworm spoileth and flieth away. Now you get this in the NLT right here. It says your merchants have multiplied until they outnumber the stars. So like a swarm of locusts, they strip the land and fly away. And that's pretty much, no work, no manufacturing. And a lot of manufacturing went, America got rid of all the manufacturing, right? Long time ago. And now whatever they have left is, bleeding. AMP says you have increased your traders more than the visible stars of heaven. The creeping locust strips and destroys and then flies away. Said thy crown are as the locusts, and thy captains as the great grasshoppers, which camp in the hedges in the cold day. But when the sun rises, they flee away, and their place is not known where they are. Going to the fact of them being afraid, being like women, don't want to fight. We kind of seeing that happening right now with Iran. Nahum 3 and 18, that shepherds slumber, but they will do it because they have to do it because Israel is going to make them do it, right? That's why you have Jeremiah 50, right? 45, where the least of the flock is going to draw them out. So that's what's going to happen according to the prophecy. It says, thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria, thy nobles shall dwell in the dust, thy people will scatter upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. There is no healing of thy bruise, thy wound is grievous. All that hear the good of thee shall clap their hands over thee, for upon whom hath not thy wickedness passed continually. Right, we have Isaiah 47. I'll get it from 8. The point 1 is the last verse. Isaiah 47 and 8. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that saith in thine heart, I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, and in one day. The loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Right, once again, going into the sorceries, the enchantments, the trusting in the left hand side. It says, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me, thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And that's exactly what's happening in these last days. Everything they do, is being met with problems. It says, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be the prophet, if so be, thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee, right? Going to your warlocks, the witches, wizards, and things like that. It says, behold, they shall be as stubble, the fire shall burn them, they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, there shall not be a coal to warm that, nor a fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto Thus shall they be unto thee, whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. So these merchants, these different individuals, what Babylon will go their own way. T says all your friends, those with whom you've done business since childhood, will go their own ways, turning a deaf ear to your cries. See? So that's what's happening with these, manufacturing individuals. You even had when Trump, I guess he somehow took control of the oil in Venezuela, whatever the case may be. He was trying to send oil companies in there, and some of them was like, I don't know, I don't know about all of that because they're just uncertain with certain things. AMP says this is how they have become to you. This is how they have become to you, those astrologers and sorcerers for whom we have labored. Those who have done business with me from the youth, each has wandered in his own way. There is no one who saved me. See, so these are, astrologers. None of that's going to save them. No merchants going to be here. You know. So ultimately, that's all I had. Lord willing, you were edified from the lesson. Shalom to the hope for elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.